Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. This is another episode of Good Morning Let's Basketball, Season 1, Episode 8. We have some interesting topics for you guys today. First one out is Paul George says NBA players have a better chance in playing in the NFL than NFL players playing in the NBA. For my opinion on this, I think he's kind of wrong. I think NFL players, we've seen Myles Garrett and some other athletes in the NFL. I think Odell too. They've played pretty good pickup basketball games. What do you guys think about this?
I definitely side with Paul George on this opinion. I mean, I think NBA players are definitely like some of the best athletes in the world, just because they're 6'8" and they're sprinting up and down a court all day, and they have 40-inch verticals. Like half of the people on the NFL team are 400 pounds. They're like, I don't think they're gonna be able to play basketball. And like you said, there is exceptions like OBJ, Myles Garrett, DK Metcalf, but as far as like to have like one of them like transition to another sport, like going to the NBA or the NFL, I feel like the NBA players would have like a better chance at making it, just because I feel like they're just more natural athletes and they're more like athletic than football players are. They do a lot more of like conditioning training and movements rather than like strength training, which is like not really like what you need like for NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I don't know. I think when it comes to NFL players transitioning to basketball, like you said, it's a lot more of you need to be a lot more like physically ready to be or conditioned, I guess you could say, to be running up and down the court. The only thing that I would say is that I do think that in the younger years of your life, it's probably a lot easier maybe to practice what's it called, basketball than it is to practice football. Like, for example, if you're a young kid and you're, 16, 17 years old in high school, I think it's a lot easier to go buy yourself a $30 basketball and just shoot around at your local park than it is to like get, really good catches from a really good quarterback that's in high school or learn how to, play well on safety or something like that. So I'd say that overall, I think the transition from basketball to football is a lot harder, yes, but as a sport getting better at, I think it's easier to get better at basketball than it is maybe to get better at football. But again, I think that all comes down to just like what type of technology you're using and all that other stuff, because those guys have like those shooters or whatever that like shoot the ball at you. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Dude,
no, I know.
there's no way. Like, I think NFL players would be way better at basketball than NBA players being better at NFL. NFL is way harder. Dude, like you gotta like take into account the linemen and then like the defense too, like coming at them, or even if they play defense, it's hard to play defense on against like especially a good offense in the NFL. You're gonna have a easier time adjusting to the NBA than an NFL player or than an NBA player adjusting to the NFL.
I don't know, man. Just like Myles Garrett, I feel like he'd have trouble guarding anybody, even Kyle Lowry.
Bro,
Like he
he's a
cannot
tank.
like, huh? Okay, he's a tank, but can he defensive slide? Can he run up and down a court? No, he can't. He
Dude,
definitely can't.
I'm
He's
sure
too
yes
big.
he could, man.
No, he couldn't, bro. His big dumb ass.
Dude,
I'm saying like,
he's pretty built, man. Like he I
okay,
saw
but
him doing like three like windmills and stuff. He'd be good on.
okay, but you're using one player. We're talking about a whole like NFL is like a league. Like when you take the most freakiest athlete in the NFL, yeah, he probably could. But when you take the whole NFL as a whole, generally, I think the NBA would. I think NBA players would adjust better, like would have a better chance of playing in the NFL than an NFL player would have a better chance of playing in the NBA. NBA season is a lot longer than the NFL season. Now, granted, they're not getting hit weekly, taking brain damage, but
82
but
games.
you're running multiple miles every other day.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I just feel like NBA players are just overall better athletes. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, no, I
they're
would.
taller, they're more athletic. What else do you need?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me,
But dude,
but
dude, NFL has some tall people too. Like the linemen are tall as fuck.
they're 6'5". NBA, the average height of an NBA player is 6'6".
Yeah, that's true.
Dude, like a lot of the
No,
NFL.
I'm just,
Hold on. All right, average NFL player is 6'2".
Okay.
But still, like height's not everything in the NFL.
It's not, that's not what the argument is.
What is the argument again? I don't even remember it
I
now.
don't know. He just Googled height and
No, I
because
mean,
you
what
said
is the
I
argument?
can't I can't because Kevin brought up something about height in the NBA.
No, I mean, like, what's the original? Or I'll look it up.
I said like I was saying how I think the NBA players are more athletic because they're able to move the way that they do at 7 feet tall and 6 foot 8 feet tall. Like an NFL player that's 6'8", they're probably 400 pounds and
Yeah.
play linemen.
Yeah,
They
no,
are.
yeah,
Like
100%.
every very tall NFL player that I've ever
If you're super
heard
tall
of.
in the NFL, there's no need for you to be like fast or mobile because
Yeah, I mean,
those
you're going to be a
positions are
demon
taken
on
up
the
by the
line.
smaller
Like that's
guys.
where they
Yeah.
need you. But I don't know. Like I said, I just feel like the NBA players are just a lot more like quicker and can adapt to like, oh my God, just overall more athletic. They're going to be quicker,
I mean,
run longer.
I think Paul George, like, honestly should shut the hell up about that because, like, no, his long ass is not playing in the NFL. He has no shot to me. He's too tall to play any position, and unless he's willing to gain weight, he's not. He wouldn't be any good at the NFL. But the same thing can be said for the NFL guys, right? Like you said, they're not conditioned. They're used to quick in and out rounds, you know, where they're on the field and then they're off for the field and on the bench for 25 minutes to an hour. Like they're definitely, I think either way you spin it, they should stick it to their own like sport. I don't think NFL players would have an easier time transitioning to basketball, but I also don't think that the NBA stars would have an easy time transitioning to football either.
No, I mean, none of them would be easy, but like, it's just like, I don't know. It's a fun debate to have. It's something we'll never know. Like,
Yeah.
we're never going to see like an NBA player just be like, oh, I'm going to go to the
Shit,
NFL this
LeBron.
season. LeBron would get bodied in the NFL.
He probably
But
would, yeah.
yeah, like, I don't know.
What do you think, Daniel? Because you're like it seems like you're on both sides.
I mean, yeah, like that I think that's where like I don't know, it's such a weird argument because I'm reading it and it says like Paul George says NBA players have a better chance of playing in the NFL than NFL players playing in the NBA. And like I just I guess I think he's an idiot for even saying that. Because I'm like, no, like you're talking about two completely different sports, right? Like you said, average height of an NFL player is anywhere from 5'6", 5'7", all the way up to like 6'5". And whereas the NBA, you have everything from 6 foot to 6'11" and beyond. I think it's a very different, like I don't know, unbased argument. I guess I don't really have an opinion on this because Paul George sucks and his ass is not making it in the NFL. That's all I care about. Just fueling hate to Paul George, pretty much.
Yeah, well, I think if you answered the question and gave an answer, it would be a lot better.
I don't.
But
Okay, fine. I guess I don't know how there's an answer to this though. Like,
just pick one.
all right, I guess an NBA. I guess a really tall NFL player would have a better shot at joining the NBA. How about that? There we go.
All
Then
right.
yeah, I don't.
You still bent it a little bit, but we'll let it slide because that's the best we're going to get.
Yeah.
It is.
I don't think he knows what he was saying anyway. But
Don't. That argument was stupid.
so Hawks are going to look around to trade Trae Young, see what they could get for him. Personally, I was kind of shocked by this news. I think it's not Trae Young's fault there. I think it's like the whole team in general. But I mean, I saw stuff earlier in the season that I think he was getting into arguments with the coach and stuff, so that could play a factor into it that they want him out of there.
I've heard of the character issue thing as well. Thing with the Hawks is I just don't really know what they're trying to do. Like, are you trying to win now? Are you trying to rebuild? I mean, I know that they traded for DeJounte Murray, which in hindsight, it's kind of just whatever. Like DeJounte Murray's good, but he didn't like help them in like any severe way that people thought they were. Like people had the Hawks being contenders and like them two being like one of the best backcourts in the NBA. I think that's atrocious.
Yeah.
I think that's an atrocious take. And we saw how DeJounte Murray was talking trash to 9 to 5 workers in the summer, like bouncing the ball off their head and shit.
Yeah.
Which is to me is clown activity.
It is.
And he had a all right season. But yeah, the thing with the Hawks is they just need to figure out like what they're trying to do at the moment. Like, do they want to rebuild or have anticipations to win in a couple years from now, or do they want to win like right now? regardless of what they want to do, I think Trae Young is definitely their guy. Obviously, he has flaws in his game, just like everybody else, mostly on the defensive end, but he's great on offense. He's a phenomenal shooter, great playmaker. He's a really good point guard. I think if they trade anybody, they should definitely shop around for DeJounte Murray and just build an overall better team around them. Like the team around Trae Young isn't that great.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know who the third option on that team is. Who would you consider it? Fucking John Collins, Clint Capella. Like you can like that's not like those aren't guys that
contribute to a win.
Yeah, like they aren't gonna like go above and beyond for you. Bogdanovich too. Like maybe that's the third option, but even him, like he's.
Yeah, I mean, I strongly agree with that. I think in today's day and age of NBA basketball, like you need to have more than just one guy that can lead your team. Especially when it comes down to a shorter guard position.
Yeah.
If it's a big man like God, who do the Nuggets have? Jokic. If it's like a guy like Nikola Jokic, okay, you can kind of afford to have a little like and the Nuggets are still great. You know, they have 2-3 other guys on their team that they can go to whenever they need to win a game besides Jokic. But like I said, when you have a smaller guard position that's a shooter, call him opposite Curry or call him the other Curry. You need supporting guys on that team to make it work. So yeah, I mean, I think whereas it's not Trae Young's fault that the Hawks haven't seen a lot of success, I do think that as an organization, you do have to look at, okay, do we really need to keep one guy around or should we focus on having, 3 legit guys that can contribute to a win? And I think that's kind of the better option to go to. And Trae Young will find his place on another team. He could be that missing piece for a team with like a 3-point shooter, similar to like the Clippers, for example, who have Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, and Paul George. You add Trae Young on that team, suddenly they're a lot more dangerous than they were this year.
Yeah, most definitely.
I just think their problem with the Hawks is like they don't have like a true like number one scoring option, like Kevin said. Both Trae Young and DeJounte Murray are like pass first guys. They're both averaging like I think 8+ assists this year. And the Hawks have been probably like the most mid team I've ever seen in my life. This was like a couple months ago, a little bit after the All-Star break. The Hawks were 26-26. They were 17-17 against the East, 9-9 against the West, 8th of 15th East teams, and had scored 6,057 points and have allowed 6,057 points. Like if that ain't the definition of mid, I don't know what is.
I remember seeing that like those statistics at some point during the year. And I remember like near the end of the season, like their last I believe it was their last 16 games, they were 8-8. Like they just stayed completely perfectly balanced throughout the whole year. It's like, which is a very tough position to be in just because you're staying balanced. You're not really getting better. You're not getting worse.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Like I almost rather be losing more
than
just staying completely perfectly balanced like that.
Well, I think it's because
at that point you have a direction.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we should rebuild. Maybe we should win now. But like when you're just staying perfectly balanced, like first of all, I don't even know how that's possible. I guess with fucking I don't even know how you can do that.
Do what?
Just how they scored the exact same amount of points, allowed the exact same amount of points.
Oh yeah,
9-9 against Western Conference. Just like everything he said.
Yeah,
like there's just so much stuff that has to happen correctly in order for all that to happen. It's just like how is that even real? Which it is real, but.
And then if you look at their schedule, they were either like win, lose, and like it was.
I remember with that thing I said a second ago over like the course of the last 16 games, how they were 8-8. They would alternate. Win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, just like that. It was like near the end of the season when they were making the push for the play-in. So I don't know. And then they ended off like on that streak, like going into the playoffs.
I think the situation in the NBA right now is that I think the culture has shifted a little bit in terms of teams wanting to either be good or bad. In other words, like I feel like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you had a lot of teams that were completely content with barely making the playoffs every year or, not being such a great team, but having a lot of fan attraction in their home city and things like that. Whereas now it seems like if you're a bad coach or if you keep your team at a moderate level, or if you keep them like you said at the same level that they were at last year for longer than a year or two, I think that organization says, okay, you're doing terrible, basically, in their terms. So you have to leave the organization because we're going to move on. We're either trying to go up or we're trying to go down. And if you're not in one of those directions, obviously, you're not doing what you need to be doing.
Not for you, but
and that I was just gonna say that could also be why now you have a deadlock in the West of like 6 teams that are all even with each other at the end of the season. And same thing goes for the East. I think it's really close because everyone's really trying now.
yeah, no, the Hawks have been kind of interesting because they made the conference finals the year 2021 when they played the Bucks, the year the Bucks won the finals. Now a lot of people kind of call that Cinderella, but like they still made it.
Yeah.
They still beat 3 teams in 7-game series to go and to like make it. So I don't know. They're in a weird spot. I don't really care about the Hawks too much, whether they succeed or not.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm kind of interested to see what teams are willing to give up for Trae Young. I feel like he could be a good scorer, but I feel like he's more of a second option guy. He's more of like a pass first, my opinion. But to the next like topic we have, I saw something saying Jaylen Brown, if he doesn't get voted in an All NBA, he's he's not going to be a Celtic anymore. But if he is All NBA, he's going to stay with the Celtics.
I have seen similar things. My confusion is he's not a free agent this in 2023. So if he proposes a trade, I don't think they'd trade him at all. And I don't know why that is the determining factor if deciding if he's going to leave the Celtics or not, like All NBA.
Yeah.
Like to me, I thought it was a playoff push. Like originally, when I heard of Jaylen Brown leaving, I was like, oh, like if the Celtics like don't win or if they don't make like a decent run at the chip, then like he'll leave, which is understandable. But like All NBA, like it's kind of stupid in my opinion. But like he could hoop on another team. I think he'd definitely be a number one option somewhere else.
I really like Jaylen Brown. I personally want him to leave the Celtics just so that way I don't have to eat all my words in a few years. And I can confidently say that Jaylen Brown was the reason that the Celtics were in the position that they were in these 2 seasons, like last year and this year. Um, I personally believe that if Jaylen Brown next year decides to accept the trade and leave, mark my words, that Celtics team will fall apart with just Jason Tatum. I don't care who else they get. I don't care if they throw in Trae Young on that team. I don't care if they throw in a Wembayo or whatever his name is. I don't believe that that's like that Jason Tatum can lead that team. I think Jaylen Brown is such a big piece to that. And what I was going to say is, I think that's the reason why him making All NBA is so important to him because he says, I am just as important to the Celtics team as Jason Tatum. And the fact that I'm not getting basically the support from the fans in the NBA saying, hey, that guy's really good in Boston. I think that's why he wants to leave is because if you can't make a name for yourself in that team, obviously you're going to request a trade. And yeah, I hope he does because I don't think that he gets the recognition that he deserves. And I think down the stretch later in games, Jason Tatum seems to get quiet and not really do too much for the team. Where and that's not necessarily true for every game. I know that he is a very clutch player, he averages a lot of points, all this other stuff. But yeah, no, I just think Jaylen Brown is kind of the missing piece or the piece that keeps that team together and playing so well. But that's just my opinion.
I mean, I I do think that they wouldn't be the team they are without him. They need Jaylen Brown, right? Um, Jason Tatum, I think, even said that like they need Jaylen Brown for them to get that far and for them to go. Like this situation kind of reminds me of like the MJ and Scottie Pippen, where Scottie Pippen wasn't getting the recognition that he deserved, and he was saying that like if Michael Jordan wasn't there, he'd get an MVP and stuff like that. I feel like this is kind of a similar situation in that sense. I think if Jaylen Brown goes somewhere else, I think he could get the recognition he deserves. But then again, I feel like his best shot at winning the finals right now is with the Celtics. And I just hope they can pull it together. I'd like to see the Celtics win and like have Tatum and Brown get their first NBA rings. I think it'd be cool to see. But Oh, what was I gonna say? Oh, the when Jalen Brown got interviewed and said like where he sees himself in like 7 years or something. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
What's the name of the girl that interviewed him?
I can't
Because
remember.
whenever that I forget her name, but
She's bad.
she's a very beautiful woman. And every time she's done an interview with an NBA player, they have said some absolute fucking malarkey,
Yeah,
some
like the
crazy ass
Bundesliga.
shit. Like I remember she interviewed John Morant, and he said something like, "Yeah, I'd be Jordan one on one." Like I don't know, NBA players get around her and they start thinking they're
Shit. And they
God.
start what's that
Bro
called?
was like, "I'm fine in the West. I could beat MJ one on one." Yeah. And then Jalen Brown was like, "Oh, in the next 6 years, I think I'll have about 6 rings." Bogus.
Yeah.
Like it's just, oh my god.
Can we talk about that for a second? How if I mean the clip of John Morant saying that of saying oh, I'm fine in the West has become so viral. Like everyone talks, everyone kind of goes back to that now that we see how much the West has changed and how overpowered the West is. Um, but I was gonna say, can we talk about just for a second that if the Lakers beat Memphis in the first round, how satisfying that will be for everyone that saw that
Yeah,
video?
and they're playing right now too, so I'm definitely
Yeah.
gonna throw that on soon. But yeah, back to like the Jalen Brown thing. Jalen Brown and Tatum, like they're pretty similar. I just feel like Tatum can do everything Jalen Brown can do, but better.
Mhm.
And I definitely do feel like Tatum is the most important piece on that team. Jalen Brown is very important. Don't get me wrong. They need him. You need like a second option, someone that can do exactly as something as like the first option can do. That's how you win. Look at like every other NBA champion. Like you've had, like Steph was there. Like the years the Warriors won, they had Clay, who could also go out there and pop off.
Yeah.
Jalen Brown and Tatum, they have pretty similar play styles. I think Tatum is a better defender than Brown.
Mhm.
He's a better shooter than Brown. He's a better playmaker than Brown.
Yeah.
Brown is still really good at all those things. But like I said, Tatum can do everything Brown can do, just better.
Yeah. And
That's where like the gap comes of Jalen Brown might not get the recognition he deserves. But backtracking back to the finals when they played the Warriors, Brown actually played better than Tatum
yeah.
on the offensive end.
Yeah.
He was scoring better. Tatum was a little inconsistent. Now, does that mean that Jalen Brown is better than Tatum? No,
No.
not at all. That's just one series.
Yeah.
Especially since the playoff series that Tatum had. Like last year in the playoffs, like dude was absolutely like balling.
Yeah.
And Brown actually wasn't playing that good. Then when it came
But
to
in
the
the
finals, the
finals,
roles
he
kind of
was.
switched.
So-
No, that's what I was getting at. But like, it's like I don't know.
But if you so like this is but if you notice like this is exactly what I'm saying, right? So I definitely do think you're absolutely right. Jason Tatum does everything that Jalen Brown does, but better on the offensive end. Okay, absolutely true. But I do think that when it comes to and this is what I said in the later parts of the game, in the later parts of the season, when you are needed the most, can you step up? Jason Tatum, I think, is maybe he's too young, because like we said, you told me yesterday that usually the prime of a player's career is between 28 and like 35. And to me, Tatum's extremely young. He's only been to one finals now, and he's been to the playoffs only a handful of times. So he may just not have the experience. And Jalen Brown being the second guy on that team feels less responsibility to show up. And that's why Jason Tatum is able to, or that's why Jason Tatum is feeling all that pressure and is not able to, whereas Jalen Brown has less pressure and is able to perform at that high level. So yeah, that team doesn't work without both of those guys. I do think, but I would really like to see Jalen Brown like shine on his own. I think that he could be just as equally good, if not better, than Jason Tatum in the future if he were to leave that team. And then to your point about Curry, was it the Raptors finals that Curry lost KD and Clay?
It's when they played the Raptors.
And he was sitting
2019.
Yeah. Just to add to your point, like that was a season where they lost their guys towards the end, and Curry cannot pull that team together by himself. Nobody can. You'll always need guys on your supporting cast now to help you win a championship. That's for sure.
I think the only ring that there might be others. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the only ring that he didn't have help was the Dirk ring. Like I feel like he didn't have anybody else with him. He solely took that team to the finals and beat LeBron.
That's definitely one of the most like meaningful and impressive rings in NBA history. I know there's a few also like NBA players that kind of carried back in the 90s, like None of us saw that finals.
Yeah.
Hakeem Olajuwon, like he kind of carried those like Rocket championships the years Jordan left. Like the second best player on those teams was like Kenny Smith, great NBA player, but like look it up who they're playing against. It's like, oh shit, like that's who the second option was. Like the Dirk situation was pretty similar.
And if you're a fan like me, that, and I know neither of my co-hosts will agree with this point, but I personally believe that any team from like 2000 and maybe even 6, maybe even 8, all the way up to now would, not any team, but the good teams from that age range would absolutely destroy any of the teams in the 90s, including the 96 Bulls. I know that that's a stupid opinion and all that, but that's just my personal belief. That being said, to win a championship by yourself in the most competitive era in NBA basketball, to me, Dirk Nowitzki does have the most meaningful and legit championship ring of all time. Because like you said, everyone else, it seems like, had a supporting cast or a team around them. Dirk was this big, big guy, big center that could just hoop, and he did that, and he won against arguably the best basketball player to ever do it and the leading scorer right now. So yeah, I that's just mine.
I might have to say LeBron's is probably better than Dirk's, but Dirk's is still more meaningful. Like when he beat the 73 and 9 Warriors, because that was kind of crazy. They came back 3-1, never happened in the finals.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your co-star putting up 40 a game and then Draymond missing a game? I think that definitely helps. Don't get me wrong. Dude, the comeback 3-1, that's insane.
Yeah.
But Draymond was suspended a game. And if he wasn't suspended a game, I think the Warriors would have definitely like closed out that series. But like I said, never know. He got suspended. We can't sit here and play what if all day.
Yeah.
But Dirk did beat a prime LeBron, Wade, and Bosh.
Yeah.
With Jason Terry as the second best player.
And I was gonna say, okay, as a team, the best championship ever won, I think, was by Cleveland in 2016, because that was, or 2017, because that was extremely impressive. Like you said, coming back 3-1, beating a team that had just broken the record for the best regular season record, or whatever it's called. Very impressive. But again, I go back to, in terms of a solo ring, in terms of an athlete completing a ring, I think it's Dirk. I think for sure, like you said, going up against Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. Was Kobe playing at that time, or was he on his ACL tear?
No, I think he beat the Lakers in the.
I think they beat the Lakers in the conference finals that year.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I mean that's a really impressive ring to have on your resume.
Dirk beat Kobe that year. He beat KD and Westbrook.
Damn.
And then he beat Bron, Wade, and Bosh.
That has to be, yeah. I mean, that's
an insane run.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember like seeing the run he had to get to the finals was insane, and then like on top of it, having to play that big 3 in Miami.
Yeah, when they were in their prime.
Yeah. Without that, LeBron would be at 5 rings right now.
Yeah, no, definitely an insane run that they went on.
But for our next topic, Daniel's gonna like this one. Shannon Sharp said Westbrook had a better career than Chris Paul. So for me, I'm like in the middle of this one. I could see people arguing why Westbrook has a better career than Chris Paul. And I can see people saying that Chris Paul has a better career than Westbrook. For me, I think right now I would probably say Westbrook has had the better career than Chris Paul. But if Chris Paul wins a ring, I think I'd have to give it to Chris Paul.
Yeah, so just like some background overview stats about between the two of them. Russell Westbrook has 15 seasons played. He's played for 5 different teams, and he's averaged about 22.4 points throughout the entirety of his career. He has 9 All-Star games and has won 1 MVP. Chris Paul has 12 All-Star games and 1 Rookie of the Year, no MVP, and he averages currently 17.9 points per game across 18 seasons, also playing for 5 teams. What I'm trying to point out is that their stats are literally so even and so similar to each other that I think it is really up to the fans like us talking about who we enjoy watching more and who we personally feel has the edge over each other. To me, Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double 3 seasons in a row. he broke the record for the most triple doubles in a game, and he has multiple highlight reels of him shooting buzzer beaters, him having the game on the line and making the big steal or the big play or the big rebound, whatever it is. Overall, I think when you're talking about a special player that means a lot to a team and that like overall I would look back and say who was better, it's absolutely Russell Westbrook. Not only because of the averaging triple double thing and because of the overall stats, but also just because I mean I think for the last 10 years, if Russell Westbrook was to go to a team, it was a lot bigger of a deal than if Chris Paul were to go to another team. And I think that's because Russell Westbrook is known as a player that can lead his team to success and can lead his team to win. So yeah, personally, I think Russell Westbrook is the better player. But again, those stats are so evenly matched that I think it's pretty much anyone's opinion who's better.
If I had to say, I'd probably say Westbrook has had a better career too. But I think Chris Paul has been better for longer. Like Chris Paul is older than Westbrook. And I think right now Chris Paul is better than Westbrook. Just because like he's kind of like
right now, yeah.
I would say he definitely plays like his role better than Westbrook plays his role. Like he's Chris Paul's still going out there like putting up 10 plus assists a game. Now, granted, he plays with KD and Booker, but he's been doing this his whole career when he played for the Rockets, when he played for the Thunder. He took that Thunder team to the playoffs when he was there that one season. Somehow he took that team, which is insane to me. And yeah, I would definitely say Westbrook. I mean, you guys pretty much summed it all up with all like the stats. I'm not going to sit here and repeat it. Like you said, the triple doubles, MVP, the amount of times he's competed in the playoffs, who he's played against. I would definitely say that Westbrook has had a better career too. Now, if Chris Paul were to get a ring, I would say that definitely makes it a conversation, but I would still probably give it to Westbrook.
Yeah,
I'd still probably give it to Westbrook. Maybe I don't know. I'd have to see how Chris Paul even plays in that series if he even wins. Yeah. If he wins, big.
Well, yeah, because then you also have to, like you said, you have to talk about who he played with and who he played against. Yeah. Right. If he's playing the Sixers in the finals this year with KD and Devin Booker, I'm not gonna say Chris Paul's a better player than Russell Westbrook. Yeah. But if KD goes out and it's just Devin Booker and Chris Paul and they beat the Boston Celtics, then yeah, hell yeah, Chris Paul's the better player. But yeah, like you said, it's all up in the air and it's all dependent on what they can accomplish in the next few years.
Right.
See, I just think that like they both like this careers are very similar. They've both been to NBA finals as well. And I think that the reason I think that if Chris Paul won a ring this year, that would give him a better advantage over Westbrook is because, like Kevin said, he's been playing better. Like he's been like almost staying consistent. Westbrook, as we've seen, he's kind of deteriorating with age and stuff. He's getting worse and worse, I feel like, as the seasons go on. Don't get me wrong, he's still good. He's still very talented. But I just feel like he's not that Westbrook that we're used to seeing when he was those MVP days. I feel those are a little bit past him right now. Hope he proves me wrong, but we'll see.
Real quick, I think you're definitely like, okay, so I could agree with that to an extent, but one thing that I just realized while I was looking up those stats is that Chris Paul has, what is it? Hold on, it's 18 seasons total played. And how recently would you guys say that the Phoenix Suns started to become good? And I mean, like, they've been in the Western Conference Finals like 3 times in the last 4 years, right? Or 2 times in the last 4 years, something like that.
Once.
No, they've been more, right? I thought.
Conference finals?
Yeah.
Once.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Like they went to the playoffs once, or they went to the finals once, and they went to the Western Conference once.
The same year.
Oh, same
They've
year.
been once.
Really?
Yeah, I'm right.
Oh.
Mavericks beat them out last year. Chris Paul hasn't been on the Suns that long. I think it's
and when he got to the Suns, they were good. Like they were established.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So basically, what I was getting at was that, Russell Westbrook is in his 12th season. And to your point, yes, I do think that it's a bad sign that he's getting older with age. You can only 15. Assume. Russell Westbrook?
Yeah.
Damn. Why was it? Yeah, no, I don't know what I was looking at.
You said 15. Chris Paul said 18.
You're right. Yeah. I just relooked at the picture that I had. And yeah. So, I mean, 3 years behind Chris Paul, and he's already showing signs of decreasing. I was going to say I kind of hope that he's just in a slump and that things could get better for him. but at the same time, he's got 3 years to make an improvement the level at which Chris Paul has made, which is, making it to the finals and the West and winning the Western Conference Finals. So yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say he's in a slump, but I don't think he is. I think this may be towards the end of Russell Westbrook's career.
No, I still think he'll have a couple more years. I think maybe like 3 more years, 3, 4. I'm
It's what's unfortunate is that his style of ball is very aggressive and he's very like fast paced, dunk, run around the field. And it's like, how long is that sustainable for? Not very long, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely have a few more years left, and I'm just like, how good are those years going to be? I don't think they're going to be amazing. Like, I don't really see him winning another MVP. Don't really see him winning a ring. Just because I don't know, I feel like he gets confused on like what role he's supposed to play, and he's just the talent's just not there anymore. You lose your shot, you lose your athleticism. Like it's just unfortunately time. Now, if he comes off the bench somewhere, like how he did for the Lakers, I feel like that'd probably be the best bet. But like a starter, I don't think he'd be able to win a ring as a starter, let alone like being the main option on a team.
I think he has an attitude problem playing off the bench too, though. Like I don't think he wants to play off the bench.
Well, no one does ideally, but like it's just you gotta have to accept it.
I think it gets in his head is kind of what I mean, Victor. Like I think it gets in his head coming off the bench and then he can't play well.
No, I saw something saying that like when he was on the Lakers, when he was coming off the bench, like he was totally cool with it. Like they said something that he like, oh man, I can't remember the exact thing, but like it was saying that he was cool with it, like he was okay with everything that the Lakers did. I think that it just didn't work towards the end of like the thing. Like they were having trouble like coaching him or something. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, that Lakers team sucks though. I don't agree with anything that they did up until the All-Star break when they got different guys in and stuff like that. But beforehand, they were just as bad as the Nets in how many times they were switching the offensive uh lineup. Yeah, like how many times they were switching up the offensive lineup and how many times they were switching what guys are on the floor when. I think that screwed up the team from the get-go in the early part of the season. Now I'm hoping that they can do well and they can win some games, but we'll see.
Tonight